right. It's Carlota Chapter 9. Let's see if there's any. That was like a little hint that was buried in there about his smile, and now I gotta keep reading. Chapter 9. Plus, my eyes are totally hurting. I can't even see. My house is all dark. I can't stop reading. After the race, the alcalde cleared everyone from the field in front of the gate, and 10 of the young men jousted with lances. I was good with the lance. I had 3 of them, all made of black walnut wood and tipped with Toledo steel. I wanted to joust, but my hand would not stand the hard thrusts that were required, so I had to sit by and watch. The baile that night was very pretty, with colored lanterns which had been strung across the courtyard, giving off a golden light, and the musicians from their platform of pine boughs playing minijotas and Aragonese waltzes and bombas. To please my grandmother, I wore the dress she had bought for me the year before. It was of black bombazine with ruffles at the hem and cuffs and neckline. I felt uncomfortable in it, used as I was to the feel of leather. 2 of the Yorbas and Dona Maria of the Palomareses said it was very becoming to me, but none of the men said anything. I think perhaps it was because I had beaten Don Roberto in the race, or just that for some reason they were afraid of me. Anyway, I didn't dance much, except once with my father, and once with Don Manuel of El Nido, and once with Don Roberto, who, like me, was a better horseman than a dancer. I would like to race you again, Don Roberto said. It will be a better race if I ride Tiburon, I said. I would have won, said my new brother-in-law, had my horse not balked at the last minute, just as I was reaching out to tie him. I don't like the tying. It is not good for true racing. I agree. Then we will race again, Don Roberto said. Soon, I said, and you will give me the handicap. I thought this would please him, and it did. 50 varas, he said, puffing out his round cheeks, unless you desire more. No, 50 varas is sufficient. I would tell my father so that he could make another bet with his friend Cesar Peralta. In the meantime, there was something else. Don Manuel of El Nido I had not met before. He had come after the games were over. His long sideburns were gray, and he was handsome and a very good dancer. I almost went, ow. He was handsome and a very good dancer. Ow. Sorry. Sorry, can't help it. His long sideburns were gray, and he was handsome and a very good dancer. Once he had been a soldier in Spain, before the king gave him a grant of 9,000 acres to the south of our ranch. His wife had died on their way here, to New Spain, and he had not married again. I am sorry that I did not see you in the race this afternoon, he said. It pleases me that you beat the young caballeros. An arrogant group. You gave them a good lesson, which they need and deserve. It surprises me, since they carry themselves with such airs and arrogance. Why do they not go north to fight the gringo? That trouble is mostly over, I said. It would not be if they and others of their kind would give up their easy ways and take to the saddles. They act like children whose mothers will still need to change their pants. Well, that's a little harsh. I wondered, because Don Manuel was once a soldier, why he did not take to the saddle himself. Then I thought that he must be like my father, like all the rest of the Spanish landholders, who were certain that the gringo would win the last battle. Should they oppose the Americans, they would end by losing their lands and perhaps their lives. When I was dancing with Don Manuel, I saw my grandmother watching us. She nodded her head in approval, and when the dance was finished and I went to sit with her, she asked me if I liked Don Manuel. He is so handsome, she said, and he has a ranch with many rich acres of bottomland. He is twice my age, I said bluntly. No difference, my child, she said. All the ages have their advantages. The musician struck up a bomba and drowned out the list of advantages possessed by Don Manuel. She changed the subject by giving me a nudge. Dance, she said. Show the Yorbas and the Bandinis that you can do something besides ride a horse. Also Don Manuel. I got to my feet. Rosario brought me a glass of water. I set it carefully on top of my head and began the slow steps of the bomba. Then someone brought a handkerchief with 2 corners tied together and placed it on the ground. As I danced, I picked it up with my feet. I did this dance only once because my bones hurt from the fall I had taken in the chaparral thicket. All the boys began to throw cascarones at me, and the other girls, duck eggs filled with perfumed water, some with confetti, while we shouted with delight. Even Don Saturnino's eagle, who had been sitting quietly on his perch, began to scream. It was a fine wedding. My sister Iris looked beautiful. She was happier than I had ever seen her, laughing and kissing everyone, and Don Roberto I liked much more than I had. Let's just read chapter 10. It's probably a short one. Ooh, it is a short one. That means something dramatic's going to happen because it's short. Late that night, when most of the guests were asleep, a vaquero rode up to the gate. The gate was closed, and he beat upon it until my father roused himself. I had stopped on my way to bed for a drink of water from our spring house. I followed Don Saturnino and watched while he opened the big gate and let the vaquero in. The vaquero was out of breath. I come from Rancho El Cajon at the foot of the pass. Do you know Don Francisco, the patron? Certainly I know him, my father said, with impatience at being disturbed in the middle of the night. Continue. This is not a social hour. 2 days ago at dusk, as the sun set, the vaquero said, a band of Indians, perhaps from the Mojave tribe, came through the pass. Why would the Mojaves use the pass? My father inquired. Mojaves always stay away from the desert. Through San Gorgonio. They could be one or the other, the vaquero said, Paiutes or the Mojaves. But Indians, my father said. You are sure of that? Indians, said the vaquero. They came without women. Definitely Indians? Yes, seguro que si. Without their women? Without. Riding? Riding. 2 of the horses carried your brand. My father turned to me. Bring the young man a bowl of chocolate and a buñuelo. 2 of the latter, said the vaquero. He's like, bring me 2 of those. But when I returned with the food and drink, he had gone. Thudding boots on the trail grew faint and disappeared. He had ridden away to spread the word, Don Saturnino said. But I think he spreads a rumor. I think the Indians have come to trade. The last time the Paiutes came, they came to steal. They stole 21 of our good horses, including my best gelding, Chubasco. That is why I think that now they come to trade, and that they are not Mojaves, as the excited young man suggests, but Paiutes. Do they come to return Chubasco, my black gelding? I asked. Paiutes or Mojaves, unlike our California Indians, were a serious problem. So in the morning the men got together in the big sala. When they came out, it had been decided that we, the Dezuberans, would gather the vaqueros and accompany our guests to the western boundaries of the ranch, to the King's Highway, where they would be safe. We had only 4 good muskets at Dos Hermanos, but the vaqueros fastened their long lances to the saddles. Okay, I am going to stop. Woo! So that was 9 and 10. And we will pick up reading 11. Look, we're like a little less than halfway. Not too shabby, not too shabs. I will read all of these chapters next week, the last week of school, so that you can have them as bedtime stories and so that we finish the book. Okay? Or I hope I will read them all, barring unforeseen incidents. Okay, anyway, have a good night.